All right, hey guys, today we're going to talk about how to prepare for the revolution. And this is not going to be Fed posting, because it's not going to be about, what people typically talk of when they talk about preparing for the revolution. And I do believe we have to take this country back for God, for Jehovah God, back to Christian principles, back to the Constitution, to a republic, where liberty is the law of the land, but liberty with Christian principles attached to it. And so how do we prepare for this revolution? And I submit to you that this is going to be a long war of attrition. This is not like a movie where you have like militias that spring up and they save the day. This is going to be a long war of attrition. We're in it for the long haul. And the thing that I see with a lot of patriots, even Christians, is a trust the plan type of mentality. Like they believe that, Donald Trump's going to save them, or the Christians believe the rapture's coming. And what I forewarn people is we're headed for the most brutal time in Earth's history, the most savage, brutal, violent time in Earth's history. It's coming, and there's nothing that's going to stop it. Now the question is, what comes out of the other end of that time period of brutality, violence, and savagery? Because it is coming. We're seeing the seeds already were planted in 2020. You're seeing it started to manifest with the inflation, high gas prices, the rise in crime, violence, etc., homelessness. And it's interesting because I don't know if it was Esquire magazine, it was one of those type of magazines, and this was like probably the early 2000 teens, so maybe 2012, 2013 probably, and there was an article featuring Ashton Kutcher, the actor, and he was training in some type of martial art at that time, and he was telling the interviewer that he was preparing for Armageddon, and it wasn't tongue-in-cheek. He was serious. He believed that we were headed for some really bad times in the world, and particularly America. And when you have someone in Hollywood say that, you take notice, because usually, Hollywood actors and actresses are so empty in terms of their ideology, They're empty, a lot of them, not all of them. So this caught my attention. I read the article, and he says he stepped up his training because he was preparing for Armageddon. He was preparing basically for a really bad time where it was going to be chaos, Mad Max type of stuff going on. And a lot of people know deep down, even people that have been skeptics for so long of quote-unquote conspiracy theories, that there is something afoot and it's not going to be pretty. And we're already seeing that right now, okay? It's just beginning. So how do you prepare for the revolution? Because I believe there will be a revolution one day. And I have absolute faith that we're going to take this country back. But my method of preparing is going to be different than what you're going to hear a lot of patriots say, because I'm not going to talk about Fed posting and all that stuff. This is going to be about focusing on yourself, okay? One of the things that I saw repeatedly during the lockdowns, and I, like most other patriots, were disgusted to see Americans given so easily to tyranny. And, the narrative that was painted during these lockdowns about that snake bite and about the C thing, I never bought it, right? But what I did see was what I saw prior to that was this meme, and it's usually from like the conservatives, gun-toting conservatives, and I do believe in the right to own guns. I believe it's important because that's what keeps our government on its toes from getting Australia on us, So, but there's this meme and people are posing with their guns, and no offense to anybody from Texas, and I'm just using it as an example. Don't mess with Texas, and all this type of conservative, sometimes Southern, patriot type of gun-toting, braggadocio. But then when the time comes to actually use them, and to actually use your gun rights and your freedom, and when that time comes, these people come up empty. They come up empty. It's just veiled. They're just meme warriors, you know, veiled threats. Because that would have been within these last 2 years would have been the perfect time to go 1776. And nobody did. So those guns proved very useless. It's just posers at the end of the day. Not everybody. I'm speaking generally. I don't want people to think. I do believe there's people that you know, are real deals, Holyfield with it. And so I even saw in Michigan with that whole Gretchen Whitmer thing, these Michigan guys going up there with guns and stuff. And my thing is this: if you're going to use them, but don't pose. So my preparing for the revolution has nothing to do with guns. It has to do with this. What I notice among a lot of militia groups, a lot of right-wing conservative groups and gun-toting guys that like to pose with guns is they're putting the cart before the horse. When the revolution does come, and it will, you need to be trained, you need to be fit like a warrior. It's not about having a gun, although that will be definitely a positive. But it's about training yourself. And I don't just mean physically. Because I've watched documentaries on militia groups, and I'm looking at them, and a lot of them, they don't look in shape, they don't look fit, they're eating a lot of junk food. And just because you have a gun doesn't mean you're going to be able to really use it if you're not in shape over a long period of time. But my method of preparing for the revolution is simply this: work on yourself. Physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, be healthy. This is why I say this is a long war of attrition. I don't advocate people doing random stupid things and going and trying to be Rambo. Why? Because it's not the time. And the reason why I know it's not the time is because we have a country of docile, horribly out of shape men among the conservatives, among the right wing. I'm not a right winger or a conservative. Well, I'm hard right wing, right? I'm not a conservative. I'm a patriot, nationalist. Big difference. Conservatives are globalists. And I'm not saying this to shame anybody. What I'm saying is it's a reality check. The optics of a lot of these groups are not good. A lot of them, they're not in shape. They don't take care of themselves. They're spiritually not fit. And what I mean by spiritually fit is being a patriot is not about Fed posting, not about posing with guns. Being a patriot is something within the soul. And you got to make the soul healthy. And as a Christian, that is rooted in Jesus Christ. Obviously, it's rooted in the gospel. But it's as well, it's everything we do in life is spiritual, I believe. When you go to the gym and you work out, which I just came from a workout in my work clothes, just to get a real quick workout, it's a spiritual exercise. Because God gave us these bodies. He created us with these bodies, especially men. Because as men, we are charged with protecting the weak, protecting those weaker than us, women, children, the elderly. So I suggest looking at your body as a holy temple, which it is according to Scripture. And just as in the Old Testament the Levites would really take care of that temple, we have to take care of ours. Exercise. And I'm not talking about getting hopped up on steroids and HGH, all that's crap. Those are destructive drugs. I'm talking about just natural, healthy exercise. And guess what? You don't need to really spend a lot of time in the gym. My workouts at the longest are 40 minutes long. 40 minutes. It's the intensity in which you exercise. Go to the gym. Do burpees, do weight training, because what you want to do, you want to have good optics. And in good optics, you want your body to look like a weapon, where people will have to think twice. And not that you're going out to intimidate people, because the Bible says to be innocent as a dove, but wise as a serpent. My point is that we have to look at this time as a time of war. War has been declared on the American people. Okay? So we're not in peacetime. So when I was in the military, we had a saying, stay alert, stay alive. You want to be alert. Turn your body into a weapon, where if you have no guns at your disposal, you have no weapons, then your body could be a weapon. Now this is something that I'm also going to recommend, is take up some type of fighting discipline. Now, I'll admit, right now I'm not doing anything like that. I did kickboxing for like 2 years. I do have boxing gloves, and there's a bag at the gym I go to. I got to start working the bag again. I haven't done it for a few months. But take up some form of fighting exercise. Boxing, MMA, kickboxing, Muay Thai, whatever it is. Okay, for self-defense. And of course, along with exercise goes to eating right. Now, I admit, I don't eat perfect, because I burn so many calories. I eat some junk food sometimes. There's nothing wrong with eating some junk food and treating yourself. But you want you know your body. Say, I know my body. I know when I start eating a little too much bad stuff, I stop immediately. Be in tune with your body. Have an overall healthy diet, but you can cheat. You can have junk food. I mean, we're grown men. Men are meant to eat a lot of calories. And I recommend eating meat. I'm not into the vegan, vegetarian stuff. I've seen men. I was a former Seventh-day Adventist guy, so I know what that diet does to people, to men. It makes them more docile. They have to overcompensate for the lack of nutrients they get in meat. So, eating healthy. Try to drink a lot of alkaline water. If you drink water, I mean, we all gotta drink water, but drink alkaline water. Pineapple's good. Cleans out your system. Pineapple's really good. Alkaline water. So, that's priority, taking care of your temple. It's what God gave you. Too many Christians are so they think doing anything physical is wrong. No, God gave us bodies to be physical. Okay, what about, let's talk about mentally. Well, mental, spiritual kind of are tied in together, right? The music you listen to. The music we listen to really does have a lot to say about kind of where we're at spiritually. And I recommend not listening to mainstream pop music, even hip-hop, especially hip-hop. Hip-hop's probably the most toxic type of music. Why? Because littered in hip-hop is misogyny, hatred against women, fornication, homosexuality, violence, drugs. I mean, that's trash, man. I'm just going to say it the way it is. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some old school hip-hop from like the mid-'80s backwards that's more positive. Don't have a problem with that. So I'm not demonizing the whole culture. But I'm saying modern-day hip-hop, I really say from the late 80s, when NWA arrived on the scene, since that time hip-hop's been, not good. And I think that was on purpose. It was on purpose taken over by the Jews to destroy the black community, and then by proxy destroy also other communities that like hip-hop. But anyways, what I listen, I'm just going to tell you what I listen to. You don't have to listen to what I listen to. I listen to a lot of folk music. German folk, Celtic folk, Slavic folk music. A lot of it is warrior music. I listen to a lot of, I listen to War, which is like a heavy metal folk band. If you want to get a good pump at the gym. So folk music is good because classical music, it sharpens your mind. It puts your mind in a good frame. Okay? It motivates you. It encourages you. It's positive. So watch the type of music you listen to. It is powerful. Trust me, I've taken class. I was in broadcast journalism. I know I've taken classes on that. Folk music, classical music. And I'm not saying, again, if you find hip-hop that has a positive message, listen to that. But classical folk music is powerful. Obviously, Christian music. I do listen to some heavy metal like music by Man of War, because it's like warfare music. Listen to warfare music. Get your mind set in tune with that warfare mentality. Read. Obviously, the Bible. Now, what I would suggest for Christians, modern Christianity is pretty much a docile, effeminate, pussified religion. But true Christianity is not like that. If you want to be encouraged and have this Christian warrior mind, I suggest you read a lot of the passages in the Old Testament about the times that God sent Israel to go to war, and to see the mindset of the Israelites when they went to war. They took no prisoners, man. They were no joke. So be encouraged that God does honor warriors. So read a lot of the passages in the Old Testament that talk about war. The Book of the Kings, the Chronicles, the Book of Joshua, Genesis, Isaiah 63, when Jesus comes back, when it talks about what he's going to do. Psalm 110, Revelation 19. Read other books too. Read books about philosophy. Read books about history. Know your history. And this is what I'm going to say too. This is what I'm going to tell you right now. We all have a biospirit. One of the agendas of globalism is to disconnect you from your ancestors, from your ethnic roots. Global homo just means homogenization around the globe. They want to make no distinctions between religion, race, ethnicity, gender. And I think there's two extremes in this. One extreme is people becoming hateful against other races, and they have this pride in their race, and they hate other races. Okay, that's one extreme. That's wrong, obviously. It goes without saying. But then the other extreme is to say, oh, there's no differences between us, we're all the same. See, the devil wants both. Why? Because God created the ethnicities. He created the nations, the languages, and he actually set them in borders according to the times of their habitation. The one time that the world tried to unite Babylon, God got angry and separated them. Get in touch with but this is what you do. So this is what I do, right? Get in touch with your roots, who you are, your ancestors, your culture. But do it within the context of the 20th century. For example, I'm 75% Celtic stock, 25% Native American. And I study about the Celtic history, And what you do is you take that, you learn about your culture, your history, but you bring it into the 20th century, or 21st century, I'm sorry. Because globalism wants to disconnect you from your roots. But what you do, you bring that into with an American patriot standpoint. You bring it into with the framework of this century. And you just get inspired. For example, I just finished reading a book about Queen Boudica, a Iceni Celtic queen who stood up against globalism and revolted against the Roman Empire and won, like, I think 3 major battles against them before she got defeated. And I don't care what your cultural heritage is, Aztec, Taino Indian, black, whatever black, Asian, Samoan, Tongan. Learn about your roots, your culture, heritage. When you start learning about who you are, your ancestors, your culture, you're not going to hate other people. You're going to be more focused on the beauty of your culture. So get in touch with your roots. Your daily interactions with people. These guys. Your daily interactions with people. This is another thing. What we saw a lot in 2020 to 2022, the lockdowns and the mandates, was you saw a lot of people going out in public, getting into it with others over this freedom concept, freedom. You had a lot of protests, a lot of fighting. You see it, a lot of people getting into it, people at Walmarts and stores about whether to wear the mask or not wear the mask. And I think we have to be smarter than that as patriots. A lot of these protests, Proud Boys versus Antifa, MAGA versus Black Lives Matter, I have it on pretty good knowledge that a lot of these things are just Fed operations. And it's been proven that there's protesters who get paid and they'll work one day for Black Lives Matter and Antifa the next day for MAGA, Proud Boys. And I believe these are Fed traps to dox people. And what I would say about preparing for this revolution is your daily interactions with people. You don't have to walk around wielding the big stick. What I mean by that is, I think it's a quote from one of our ex-presidents: walk softly but carry a big stick. When you have your daily interactions with people, and you see them masked up, you see things like, why aren't people waking up? They're masked up, they're still doing this, even the mandates have been brought down. Don't get into it with people. And one of the things that I did early on when the whole mask wearing thing was a controversy, I was upset at first that they were requiring masks, and I kind of told somebody at the store, like, what's up, man? A manager, like, this is whack. And then after, I told myself, okay, I'm not going to be getting into it with people. I was in the military, and one of the things about being in the military you learn is to be stealthy, be wise, don't look for trouble. So in your daily interactions with people, you being a patriot, be wise. You don't have to get into it with people out in the public square. Avoid these protests. These protests are Fed traps. They want to dox you. And your daily interactions with people overwhelmingly should be positive. Walk softly and carry a big stick. And that requires discipline. Right? It requires discipline. Because a lot of these people that I saw over the last 2 years get into it over the mask and have big fights in Walmart, that accomplishes absolutely nothing. So exercise discipline in your life. And that goes in all aspects. Whether it's going out in public and not getting into it with people, with your family. If you want to be strengthened as well, I suggest, if you're young, create a family. Don't let the hardness of the times keep you from creating a family. Because men that have families oftentimes will fight harder. They'll fight harder. Because guess what? When you leave this earth, you are leaving this earth to your children and grandchildren. And I think one of the toxic things about Christianity is waiting for the rapture and let this whole thing go to hell in a handbasket. No, I don't believe that. I believe we have a responsibility to leave a better world for our children, grandchildren, and if you don't have children, don't want children, then for other people's children. If you're young, create a family. If you're not young, you have a family already, or you're young and you have a family, spend time with them. Enjoy their company. That strengthens a man. It builds character. Spending time with your family, it builds joy. Ultimately, we are to have joy in this world. Because the time will come, and it's coming shortly, where those times of joy will be few and far between. You don't believe me? Look at the rising gas prices, and it's highly unlikely they're coming back down. I live in California. You know how much it is for unleaded 87 in California, where I live in the desert? Coachella Valley, $6.59 a gallon. $6.59. Also preparing for this, limit your circle to people you trust, people that you know have your back, people that you have a connection with. What they call it, esprit de corps. The Marines used to say it, esprit de corps, something like that. Okay? Time is too short to be wasting on people that aren't good for you, that aren't down for the cause. We're not here to save everybody. Remember, in the Bible, in the first century, it took only 12 apostles to turn the world upside down. We don't need a huge amount of numbers. We just need solid people. So be wise in who you have relationship with in these times. Okay? But these are the things that you must do to prepare for the revolution. Because ultimately, we are not ready right now. Men have to return back to the warrior roots that Jehovah God has given men. And that's not all about macho type of have a gun and all that stuff. And I'm not dismissing that, because that's a constitutional right. And it's because of that right that we haven't been too oppressed by our government, because they're scared of that, right? So I encourage you to exercise your God-given constitutional rights with gun ownership and become an expert at shooting that thing. What I'm saying is, the warrior in us, we're warrior priest of our home. We're mediators for those that we have relationship with that are weaker in faith, that need our strength to go before Jehovah God and intercede for them. We're warriors, we're defenders of those weaker than us. Male, female, children, elderly. And I don't see that right now. It's not about having guns and just saying, yeah, the American flag, blah, 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 blah. It's about being whole as a person. It's the music you listen to, what you read, exercise, what you eat. Spending time with your family, nurturing them. When men, patriots, develop those things, they will be an unbeatable force when the revolution comes. Because when I look at the left, I do see they have a dogged determination. Antifa, Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ, but they lack the spiritual quotient. They lack the family quotient. See, the patriot is a warrior. He's a warrior priest. He's not a docile, turn the other cheek in a literal way, because I'll explain turn the other cheek in another video. He's a warrior priest. He's someone to be feared. That's why I say turn your body into a weapon. Make your body visually imposing as possible to make people think twice. Watch the music you listen to. Let it be uplifting, encouraging, positive, and do not listen to hip-hop unless it's from like really the old school and it's positive, because there's nothing virtuous about misogyny against women, drugs, violence, gangs, etc. Get in touch with your biological roots, your heritage, your culture, your ethnicity. Use it as a tool of encouragement, not as a tool of hate. Read about history. Read about your people. Read scripture, most importantly. Learn about the wars that Jehovah sent Israel on, and see how, no other way to put it, how violent they were. And how they took no shorts. Value blood and family. Eat right. Listen to folk music. Listen to warfare music. Listen to folk war music. All right, guys, have a good one. Bye.